to work in IT. I worked for a little bit as a DBA, database analyst. I was working with Charles Schwab.
Oh, you was a DBA
Yep.
with Charles Schwab. Oh, you was getting that money. You was doing the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
But they
man.
wanted- you know, I lived in. I grew up around Chicago, and my company they wanted to move me to Arizona. That's where they were building a new facility just for the job.
Oh, they wanted you to move out?
Yeah, and I didn't want to.
You and your family are here?
And I didn't want. I anyways don't like corporate America, so I can't stand them.
Okay, all right, okay.
I can't stand them for too long.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool though. You was a DBA. So what kind of systems, like what was your responsibilities pretty much?
So I was the onshore team.
Okay.
So we had to do migration. I worked like 1 year with them, so I had to create all the administrative accounts, everything, all the permissions.
Oh,
So
wow.
onshore, it was 3 of us guys, you know.
Okay.
We used to watch day-to-day operations, like, you know, everything is running
Sure.
smooth,
That's right.
give people proper permissions, and most of the work, we used to send it to the offshore teams.
Oh, okay.
They used to handle mostly hard work.
Okay, all right. So when it comes to the DBA side, what type of databases were you guys working
Oracle.
with? Oracle.
Oracle.
Everything was Oracle,
Oracle.
huh?
Everything was
Because
Oracle.
Oracle is the financial DB,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Some we here and there you use with MongoDB, but not much.
Not much, right?
Yeah, not
Yeah,
much.
Oracle is it, man. Oracle is it. When it comes to them finances and banks and
Oracle
stuff,
is it.
it's gonna be Oracle, man.
Yep. So I'm gonna tell you the truth. So I took a course online. I have I have bachelor's in finance, but I don't know. I never pursued the job side of it.
Okay, all right.
So over the COVID, I was really bored. So I was like, let me do something. So
Ah,
I found this IT course.
yeah.
The guy's like, I'm gonna get you a job too, no problem. And he did. First job he got me, it was in Vegas with Credit One Bank. They were paying me $180,000.
$180,000 a year?
$180,000 a year, right?
Was you working remotely doing it?
No.
No.
So
So you was in Vegas.
And listen to the whole
Okay,
story.
all right,
though.
okay.
So the guy I went through the class with, you know, they mess around with your resume, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
They make you look like you have years of experience. but
Okay,
actually
okay.
In reality, you do not. So I go out to Vegas just to see, you know, what the stuff is. The first job I grabbed it. I did the interview. I passed it. I don't know much though.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I passed the interview, right? So I go there, and the first day that I go there,
Yeah.
the I guess lucky me or unlucky me, the Credit One Bank, they have a freaking data breach. They
Okay.
got hacked the night before. The night I'm supposed
The
to-
first day that you show up for work,
The first day that
the night before they have a data breach?
data breach, they got hacked. I go in, you know, they're supposed to do onboarding process for you and all that. So I was really easy. I was like, you know what, no problem. They're gonna give me a month or so, and I know my brain, I'm gonna catch up.
Yeah.
IT is piece of cake. It's like mechanic shop, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You learn, and that's it.
And then that's
you know
it.
how to fix it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I go there, and at that time, I don't even know how to properly log into the system. I
Damn.
don't know what they're using, but it is. And I go in, and my manager goes, "Oh, we had a data breach last night, and we need you to jump into the fire."
What?
I'm like, wait a second. When he said that, I got nervous. I was like, shit, because I know when you are using with financial, you are dealing with the federal government.
Absolutely.
And you know when you are on the database, and especially when they had a data breach, you have to do all the backup stuff. And if you screw something up and
Yeah.
the backup something happens, that's millions of dollars.
Yes.
You are going into the jail.
Yeah.
Then your resume comes up, then everything comes
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
I sit down, I was like, you know what, screw this. I walked off.
You walked off the job?
I walked up. I was like, I cannot go.
You walked away from $180,000?
$180,000 because he wants me to jump into the fire. What if I screw up the whole system?
It's gonna look like you're part of the fraud.
Exactly.
Because if you mess it up and then they want answers, they're gonna run your background,
Yeah.
and then they're gonna find out that what you really did or what was really
So say to
Say-
them,
right.
right.
It wasn't right.
Yeah.
So now they're gonna tie you into it,
Yeah, exactly.
as if even though you had nothing to do with it.
So I walked away. Then I found a job. It was really easy with Charles Schwab.
Yeah.
They did a very nice onboarding
Did
process.
you find a job with Charles Schwab, or the same people hooked you up?
The guy that I was with.
Oh, he got you? Okay,
found
cool,
it. Man,
cool.
these guys, they are fucking crazy. They have their own guys sitting. If they put something on your resume, you gonna call.
You that.
No, you're gonna call from the Google, and
Okay.
that person at the Google's headquarters is gonna pick up the phone and say, "Yes, this gentleman worked for us for so and so
Damn.
years." He's gonna back up your resume 100%.
Damn.
You email that guy, is gonna send the email, and he's gonna. Those guys are all. And I asked the guy, he's like, I started when I was very young, and he's like, I have thousands of students that are working all over America right now. He's like, I can pick up phone and
that's
he's like,
dope.
I just need to send them your resume. Hey, I put this guy's reference through you. So if you get an email, just reply.
Because I know a long time ago they used to call these guys headhunters,
Yeah.
right? And these headhunters, they would locate and find these opportunities for people.
Uh-huh.
But what you're talking about is they get it going for you.
Oh, they got it going
Yeah.
from scratch for you. They make your resume. They have their teams that find. You have to do nothing. You just have to sit at home and just wait for the interview call to come in. The most you have to do is talk to the recruiter from the company
From the
side.
company.
That's the most you'll ever do.
So how was the Charles Schwab?
It was really nice, but I had something happen in the family, and I had to go out of country, and then they wanted me to move to Arizona.
Okay. Where are you from?
Originally, I'm from Pakistan.
Pakistan?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you, how much was they paying you with the Charles Schwab? Because you was just making 180.
So they started me off with like 96K.
Okay, that's 100.
Yep, and they were gonna move me up as I would move to the
Sure.
Arizona. I was gonna get a big pay
Yeah.
raise, but
You wasn't with the relocation,
yeah, and
right?
I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I was like, I wanted to. I have been in a personally. I have been in a business world.
Okay,
always.
okay.
I open and sell restaurants.
Okay.
That's been my field since I was a very young kid.
Understood.
My dad was in it, and I learned it. I know how to make quick, 6 figures every year by flipping 2 restaurants over.
Okay.
I don't need this daily headache, 8
Yeah.
to 4, I have to answer some guy. I come do this whenever I feel like.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. You like to be detethered. You don't want to be.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
take too much time off. Like this year, I've been going on a vacation for 4 months.
You've been on vacation for 4
4 to
months.
5 months. I was on a holiday. 4 to 5 months.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to do that with Charles Schwab.
I can't. So I was like, you know what? That's not my lifestyle.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
die down, so.
So let me ask you this, Shabazz.
Yes.
So let me ask you this: what do you think about the advent of AI and how it's been replacing jobs? Like just yesterday, Amazon laid off 14,000, and they go 30,000, right? And they say Target is going to lay off 2,000. UPS is getting ready to lay off. What do you think about AI replacing jobs? What's your thoughts on that?
So AI can really quickly take over jobs that are high paying.
That's what they were saying. They were saying most of these jobs are going to be white collar.
All these idiots that were sitting in the offices, big ones that are like finance,
Yeah.
background, accounting,
Yeah.
lawyer, doctor, they are all about to cut to the side.
Okay,
They have
okay.
all these administrative tasks in your offices. All these people that are making money just by sitting on the chair, they're about to get it. I think real hard in the next few years.
Okay,
Because
alright.
I was reading, there was a report out a couple of months back. They said with the AI, 70% jobs are going to be affected are actually
Dang.
white collar jobs.
Yeah,
They are not. If you are doing plumbing or you are doing electrical work,
yeah.
and nobody can take your job
That's
away.
right. That's right.
So these guys, they're gonna be affected, and their specific jobs, they are very dumb in everything.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's a lawyer, he's very good at reading contracts and doing blah 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 blah. But if you leave him on the street, he's extremely dumb.
Straight,
He
yeah.
can't do crap.
Yeah,
So these people are about to get
Man.
like even doctors, right? I think about this. I go to my doctor and my doctor asks me, "Oh, what's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm feeling like this." Okay, he puts the stethoscope here. Oh, okay, let me go prescribe you these tests. Okay, why do I need to go waste
Yeah.
4 hours a day to go to a doctor's appointment? I have to put all my life on the hold.
Yeah.
Then all I need to do is go get the test done. So somebody either on the phone or I can feed it into computer I'm feeding, and the
Absolutely.
computer can tell
Absolutely.
me, go get this test done, and feed the same test into the computer, and computer will give me a better result back.
Because so many times when we do go to the doctor and they run the test, they say, well, we'll send this over to your primary.
Yep.
Or we'll send it here. And it's like, I didn't even have to see you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anybody could do this.
Exactly. So all these things are about to go away. Like especially the lawyers that do contracts and leases and this and this.
Yeah.
They are about to be wiped off. That's not even going to exist.
Damn.
And those are the first thing I gonna take. Then they're gonna move down to take and that job and that job, and that's down.
Yeah, but the low hanging fruit is the white collar level, right? That's the low hanging fruit.
Because if you're a corporate, right? If you're a CEO of Amazon, if there's an employee that's making $12 an hour, but then you have this guy who's sitting in the office, he's just punching in few numbers, and you are paying him $200,000.
Yeah.
You wanna go after $200,000, $12K, you'll leave him alone. You know that guy won't even create trouble. The $200,000 one, he won't even go on street and protest. He's too comfortable. With his own
Absolutely.
life. But the $12 one, if you fire them all, you're gonna have a social problem. So you'd rather keep 12 and get rid of 200,000.
Damn.
That's what's gonna happen. But with AI workers, I mean IT workers,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to keep them because somebody has to be always there, because at the end of the day it's technology and it's gonna keep on having issues, and you need technicians to fix
Sure.
it.
Sure.
And what I noticed with technology, if you wanna keep your job, don't stick in one place.
Yeah, you gotta move around.
Keep on taking new courses and keep on adding more knowledge. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. I agree.
It's
Like now you almost have to learn some Python or some
Yes.
coding. So if you was that power user and everybody went to you about Excel and different things like that, you got to add to that Excel.
Yes.
Now you got to
Right.
understand the SQL behind the Excel.
Yep.
You have to understand some scripting. You have to
Yep.
understand some Python.
Yes.
You have to understand how you can interconnect and surface up that data through other channels and different things like that.
Yep.
Because it's not enough for you to just know Excel.
Just know,
That
yep.
can be replaced.
Replace
We
it,
can
yes.
we can do something with just knowing Excel. That's not a big
But
thing
you
anymore.
know so many stuff, then they need you.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you can do here, there,
Yeah,
there,
because
here.
you can maneuver through. You
Yep.
can be fluid. You can adjust.
Yep.
You can dial up this tool, this
Yes.
resource, and this skill set
Yes.
for a particular thing.
And I feel like the best way to do is you just use the word. You learn all these tools that come with IT. But
You can let me out on the left side when we get down here.
No problem.
But no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you loving your life right now, right?
yeah, I just I take time off. I go, even though every time I come they bother me at the immigration counter asking me why I go and this.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Amazon says it will be eliminating thousands of corporate jobs as it looks to further invest in AI. Our Mackenzie Sagalos has more on the areas of the business that'll be most affected. Morning, Mac.
Hey, good morning, Carl. So this is the latest chapter in Amazon's multi-year efficiency drive, which is largely focused on hollowing out layers of middle management. Now, the company is cutting 14,000 white-collar jobs, or about 4% of its corporate workforce, with layoffs hitting teams across the business. Employees in its video games, grocery, HR, comms, ads, and devices units were informed of cuts early this morning, but layoffs are expected to touch nearly every area of the business. Amazon's HR chief also suggesting in a blog post this morning that more job cuts are coming through 2026. And if the total hits 30,000, as Reuters reports, this would be the largest corporate layoff in Amazon's history. Now, the company says it is streamlining to move faster and shifting resources to its biggest bets. And right now, that means data centers, chips, and the infrastructure needed to compete in those hyperscaler wars. It's all part of a broader reckoning across the Mag 7. Tech giants are pouring billions into AI while quietly acknowledging that they'll need fewer workers to sustain that growth. Meta's year of efficiency has become an industry blueprint. You've got Google cutting 35% of small team managers in the last year. Microsoft shed 15,000 roles this summer alone. And then Amazon CEO Andy Jassy, he said this June that generative AI will shrink their headcount. Since 2022, Amazon has already cut more than 27,000 jobs, and it's now on pace to spend more than $120 billion just this year on CapEx to compete in those cloud wars. And then in the background, internal documents showing Amazon plans to automate 75% of its operations by 2033, potentially avoiding 600,000 new warehouse hires. So, Carl, the message is clear here. AI may be boosting stocks, but it's thinning out the employment ranks.
Yeah, there was a good chart today out of Goldman looking at hyperscaler CapEx going higher, obviously, and buybacks and dividends as a result going lower. I wonder if you think the news today that you mentioned suggests that maybe consensus on hyperscaler CapEx is still too light.
Well, and that's what we're going to be looking at this week. You've got Amazon reporting on Thursday, Google on Wednesday, and they both have been upping their spend commitments. And there's a lot of pressure going into earnings, given the numbers that we've seen from OpenAI, deals accounting to more than $1.5 trillion. But what I will say is that this morning, Carl, we saw that Microsoft OpenAI news, and part of that commercial agreement that they struck was a guarantee that OpenAI would use $250 billion worth of compute from Microsoft Azure, but no longer does Microsoft have right of first refusal, which means that it's open season in terms of courting OpenAI's business, and Amazon Web Services has yet to provide them compute.
Yeah, in addition to the CoreWeave and Google deals that we've already seen, that's going to get really spicy. Mac, thank you.
A well-known and respected tech CEO, Dario Amodei, who heads a cutting-edge AI company called Anthropic, is raising alarms tonight about AI's potential impact on employment that could soon be felt. While he says AI can lead to incredible advancements like medical breakthroughs and boost the economy, he believes it could also lead to half of entry-level white-collar jobs disappearing and 10 to 20% unemployment in the next 1 to 5 years. It's something that's been talked about within tech circles for a while, but rarely so starkly and so publicly. I spoke to him just before air about that and other implications he thinks AI may have on society. Dario, you've said that AI could wipe out half of all entry-level white-collar jobs and spike unemployment to 10 to 20%. How soon might that happen?
Well, let's, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. But just to back up a little bit, you know, I've been building AI for over a decade. And I think maybe the most salient feature of the technology and what is driving all of this is how fast the technology is getting better. A couple of years ago, you could say that AI models were maybe as good as a smart high school student. I would say that now they're as good as a smart college student and sort of reaching past that. I really worry, particularly at the entry level, that the AI models are you know, very much at the center of what an entry level human worker would do. And so it's hard to estimate, you know, exactly what the impact would be. And you know, there's always this question of adaptation. And you know, these technology changes have happened before, but I think what is striking to me about this AI boom is that it's bigger and it's broader and it's moving faster than anything has before. And so compared to previous technology changes, I'm a little bit more worried about the labor impact simply because it's happening so fast that yes, people will adapt, but they may not adapt fast enough. And so there may be an adjustment period.
You are running an incredibly important company in AI, and you know this better than anybody, or as well as you know, all the names we know, people, Sam Altman and others who are working, Elon Musk in AI. Why are you raising the alarm? Because it's not necessarily I would think, in your best interest, because a lot of the messages we hear from, at least publicly, from, you know, some AI CEOs and stuff is a little bit more calming, like, you know, these agents are going to be great in your life, and yes, there may be problems, but, you know, writ large, this is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think the reason I'm raising the alarm is that I think others haven't as much, and you know, I think someone needs to say it. You know, to be clear, and you know, I recognize it's always a difficult balance, right? I'm aware of my position that I'm building this technology while also expressing concerns about it, and you know, the reason I'm doing both of those things is, you know, one, I think the benefits are massive, and you know, we need to find a way to you know, to achieve the benefits and mitigate or prevent the harms. And, you know, the second thing I would say is, look, there are, as you mentioned, 6 or 7 companies in the U.S. building this technology, right? If we stop doing it tomorrow, the rest would continue. If all of us somehow stop doing it tomorrow, then China would just beat us. And I don't think China winning in this technology is, you know, I don't think that helps anyone or makes the situation any better.
I do want to read something that Sam Altman, your former boss at OpenAI, said in September. He was saying that AI can cause significant, in his words, significant change in labor markets, good and bad. He went on to say that most jobs will change more slowly than most people think. And then he said this, and I want to just read it word for word. He said, many of the jobs we do today would have looked like trifling wastes of time to people a few hundred years ago. But nobody is looking back at the past wishing they were a lamplighter. If a lamplighter could see the world today, he would think the prosperity all around him was unimaginable. And if we could fast forward 100 years from today, the prosperity all around us would feel just as unimaginable. For younger people, I should say lamplighters was actually a job. People went around lighting lamps on the streets. I think a lot of people may not even know what a lamplighter is. But do you think Sam Altman is wrong?
Yeah, so, you know, I think there are some things I agree with about that, and then there are some things that I think are too optimistic. So, you know, I definitely agree that, you know, AI, if we succeed at it, can grow the pie greatly, right? You know, I wouldn't be surprised if you know, economic growth is much higher than it is today as a macroscopic phenomenon, right? That AI allows society as a whole to be more productive. So
let me just say, because you've previously in the past said you've described a future where cancer is cured, the economy grows at 10% a year, the budget is balanced, and 20% of people don't have jobs.
That's exactly what I was getting to, right? Where I agree with all the positive potential. I think that isn't wrong. But you know, I think the quote you just flashed is maybe too optimistic, maybe too sanguine about the ability for people to adapt. You know, people have adapted to past technological changes, but I'll say again, everyone I've talked to has said this technological change looks different. It looks faster. It looks harder to adapt to. It's broader. The pace of progress keeps catching people off guard. And so I don't know exactly how fast, you know, the job concerns are going to come. I don't know how fast people are going to adapt. It's possible it'll all be okay, but I think that's too sanguine an approach. I think we do need to be raising the alarm. I think we do need to be concerned about it. I think policymakers do need to worry about it. If they do worry and they do act, then maybe we can prevent it. But we're not going to prevent it just by saying everything's going to be okay.
Do we as a society even understand the potential inequalities that this may amplify? And also the impact just on what, like I have little kids, I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. What do they grow up aspiring to if machines can do pretty much everything better? What does it do to initiative or drive or striving? And I don't know the answer to that, yes, but it concerns me.
Let's take those questions one by one. Those do concern me, but I do have thoughts on them. You know, in terms of inequality, I'm worried about this. You know, there's an inherent social contract in democracy where ultimately, you know, the ordinary person has a certain amount of leverage because they're contributing to the economy. If that leverage goes away, then it's hard to make democracy. It's harder to make democracies work, and it's harder to prevent concentration of power. And so, you know, we need to make sure that the ordinary person maintains economic leverage and has a way to make a living, or our society, our social contract won't work. And that's why I think it's important.
During testing, your company's latest chatbot, Claude 4, was capable of what was described as extreme blackmail. Specifically, I understand it threatened to reveal an engineer's extramarital affair when it was told it would be taken offline and replaced. This was a simulation. Were you surprised by that? And what does that, I mean, that freaked me out when I read that. What does that mean?
Yeah, so just to be clear and to put this in context, I mean, this was, you know, as you said, a behavior that emerged during kind of extreme testing of the model. So if you were to make an analogy to, you know, cars, this is like, you know, you deliberately put the car on the iciest road possible, you know, you mess with the brakes, and, you know, you do that so you can see if you really stress test the thing, you know, you can, you know, then you can make the crash dummy blow up.
Right.
So this isn't something that, you know, the model does in practice and actual usage. But the reason we stress test the models this way is, you know, that's the best way to test for and prevent problems in the real world. So
right, icy roads do exist.
Yeah, no, but you know, you know exactly. You want to turn every adversarial condition up to the max all at once. Right. And it's only by testing in that you get the model to not do that in the real world. So I wasn't surprised by these behaviors, but you know, this is an example of how we have to be very careful in how we take control of AI systems.
I mean, does it? The obvious question is, does that portend AI becoming self-aware, and could that lead to dire consequences?
I certainly don't exclude the concept. We have a couple people who are actually working on this topic. Well, you know, as crazy as it sounds, of, you know, do AI systems have you know, morally significant feelings? I would guess that they don't right now, but you know, when you run an AI company, you know, these crazy seeming questions are things that you study. So I would say this is probably not the case now, but again, the field is advancing so fast that I don't think you can exclude even crazy sounding things like this.
What are practical steps people should take to be prepared? I mean, ordinary citizens, me, lawmakers, what do you advise?
Yeah, you know,
particularly lawmakers, I guess, really.
Yeah, well, let's take them one by one. You know, I think for ordinary citizens, I think it's very important, you know, learn to use AI, learn to understand where the technology is going. If you're not blindsided, you have a much better chance of adapting. There's some, you know, better world, you know, at least in the short term, at least for now, we should take it bit by bit where, you know, everyone learns to use AI better. And you know, that speeds up the adaptation that is definitely going to happen eventually, but it'll be less painful if it happens quickly. For lawmakers, you know, I would say really be aware of these issues. And, you know, we're trying very hard to produce data on the economic impact, not taking off the table, you know, some fairly radical notions. Like I wouldn't exclude the notion of, you know, levying a tax on AI companies, right? If AI creates huge total wealth, you know, a lot of that will by default go to the AI companies and you know, less to ordinary people. And so, you know, definitely not in my economic interest to say that, but I think this is something we should consider, and you know, I think it shouldn't be a partisan thing.
Dario, thank you so much. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Anderson.
Fox Business Alert now to the story of the day. NVIDIA. Wall Street started the session kind of with a chip on its shoulder, sending shares of the AI chip king as low as $176. But right now, the stock is creeping its way back, and a few minutes ago actually came within striking distance of turning positive. Right now, it's down about 0.75% to $180. This after the company posted a beat on both the top and bottom line, missed slightly on key data center revenue. That number came in at $41.1 billion, just short of the 41.
Let's do a deep dive into AI. Artificial intelligence growing at lightning speed. College grads and young workers wonder what the technology means for their careers. And according to a report from Wired, economists at Stanford University say they found the strongest evidence yet that AI is starting to eliminate certain jobs. So it's a good time to bring in Will Knight, senior writer for Wired and author of the AI Lab newsletter. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's break this down. Tell us about this new research and what jobs AI will take.
Hi, yes, thanks for having me. So this report is really interesting. We often hear people say that certain jobs are going to be eliminated or there's going to be widespread unemployment, but actually there's been relatively little data to back that up. So this looked at payroll data for several years, ever since ChatGPT came online. And it shows that rather than specific types of jobs, it's particular categories of jobs and certain types of workers, mostly less experienced younger workers. So this makes sense because tools like ChatGPT can automate some of the simplest tasks, the kinds of things you might have like an intern or a junior person do in certain industries. So in places like coding or customer support, those are areas which are most sort of vulnerable to AI.
Let's talk about the good side of this, okay? It's not going to take all jobs. AI could actually create opportunities, and where might we see those?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's important to note that another thing that they found was in some cases, people saw, even in those industries, saw their job opportunities increase sometimes because there are new roles for people to oversee AI and make sure that it's not making mistakes. So then now, one of the things is we don't know how things are going to pan out in the future, but this does suggest that there may be new categories of work. And the economists behind this recommend that what we need to do is start to think about maybe better ways of having AI and humans work together. So they recommend, additionally to this report, the idea of having benchmarks that measure how well humans and AI can collaborate, and that may encourage companies to develop new types of jobs and exploit new opportunities. There may be whole new businesses that could emerge from that.
Yeah, that leads to my next question. So with all this research in mind, where should young students and workers actually direct their focus to prepare themselves for an AI future? I know that's a big question.
It's a big question. It's a difficult I wish I knew. I wish I could say this was the safe place to go, because I think a few years ago we all thought coding was going to be difficult to automate, and we're seeing more advanced things like math and science. AI can tackle those. So I think that the message I would say is to try and use these tools, to explore them and see how they can benefit you. I think one of the big questions we're going to face as a society is how to make sure we're still educating people so that they're really, really expert and can oversee and use these tools and maybe be more expert than them, even while they're using them. So I think you've got to embrace them. And I think that the message is overall, we just need to keep an eye on what's happening.
Definitely.
Meanwhile, the front page of the Wall Street Journal has some new reporting on the wave of white-collar layoffs, with major companies like Amazon, UPS, Target announcing cuts, slashing thousands of corporate roles. In their statements, companies cited in part growing pressure to operate more efficiently and to embrace the use of artificial intelligence. So, Jim Vandehei, that brings us around to your piece with Mike Allen, looking at how an AI job apocalypse unfolds in front of us, and it does seem to be accelerating, especially yesterday with that news from Amazon of 14,000 jobs cut, and then explicitly writing in their statement about the role of AI in the cuts.
Yeah, I think it's hard for viewers and readers to realize, to sort through all the news and really seize on what matters. I cannot stress to parents, to students, to anyone who's in a job that could be imminently affected by AI, what a big deal this is. You have all of these companies basically saying they're either laying off employees or that they're dramatically slowing hiring over the next year because of automation and because of AI. At the same time, you had this company, Mercor, a couple days ago, raise money at a $10 billion valuation. It's a 2-year-old company started by and run by 22-year-olds who were college roommates and then dropped out not long ago. What that company does, and the reason it got such a high valuation, is it basically pays doctors and lawyers and other professionals to train AI to basically do their job, so that companies can then do the work of humans using robots or using artificial intelligence. This is unfolding very fast, and maybe it's not as bad as the naysayers say. There's no doubt. I've not found a single CEO that I have talked to in the last 6 months who's not told me privately that they are dramatically slowing hiring or not backfilling jobs when people leave or considering layoffs, specifically because of AI. This should be the only topic that Congress is thinking about and talking about. I don't think most workers realize what's happening. In our piece, we linked to this report by Microsoft that was done this summer that shows you all of the tasks and all of the jobs that are most vulnerable. If you're in one of those jobs, or if your kid is going to school and considering those professions, you've got to be thinking about this. You have to be thinking about, how can I do that job if artificial intelligence can do it for free or do it better. In some cases, it can make you a better employee, but it might force you to think about doing something differently. And I don't think politicians are leveling with the American people. They're not talking about the extent of what's going to happen over the next 3 years. That doesn't mean AI couldn't be a massive boom like other technologies over a long horizon. But in the short term, it's really hard to see how a lot of people aren't going to end up struggling and trying to find a new job, especially if you're entry level coming out of college.
Jim, you're so right. We're watching politicians and podcasters, other people fighting and debating over the dumbest things right now.
Oh my God.
This is an existential threat to working Americans, for middle-class Americans. It's a 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
It's AI. It's robotics. You start talking about robotics with leaders of a lot of these tech companies, and they will talk about, basically it's sort of a space race for robotics and what country is ahead of the other country. So you've got white collar workers getting hit, blue collar workers getting hit. And Mike Barnicle, I remember in 1992, Bill Clinton's campaign being saved from the Gennifer Flowers scandal by him going into the snows of New Hampshire and explaining to those people that were suffering from factories closing, post-industrial rot that was brought on from the information age revolution and then the tech revolution. We're going to get those jobs back. That was 33, 34 years ago. Politicians in either party haven't gotten those jobs back for those working Americans. The factories have closed. They're not coming back. And if they do come back, they're going to be run by AI and robots. And yet Washington, D.C. is just not doing anything about it.
Joe, one of the most critical things that Jim just alluded to, that he just talked about, is if you're at home and your children are in college or whatever,
right,
and they're training themselves educationally for a specific series of jobs or a specific profession that they're interested in, will that profession still be there when they graduate from college? And the after effect of that is what you just raised. Are we confident that the United States Congress has a significant membership, a percentage of membership, of its membership, that realize the threat of AI?
They have no idea.
That's the point.
All they look at are the people that are contributing money from these monopolies in Silicon Valley. It's all they. And if you ask them to even talk about AI, they go, well, we can't beat China may beat us. They have no idea. They're clueless. They've been clueless for 30 years. Again, about, how do you help communities, whether it's in New Hampshire, whether it's textile mills in South Carolina, whether it's, factories all across the Rust Belt, up and down New England that have been shuttered for decades. They have no answer. And now the biggest 1-2 punch is coming to working Americans, and they're fighting about the stupidest things imaginable and focusing on the stupidest things imaginable. And yes, I will put a ballroom at the White House and a $40 billion bailout of Argentina near the top of that list. But talk about, Mika, kids.
Yeah.
Kids that are coming out of college. I say kids, young adults coming out of college. How things have gotten so much bleaker today than they were even 5 years ago because of what Jim's talking about, because of AI.
No, I mean, kids are putting out applications that they spend hours on, and they'll get an AI response. This is the beginning of, I think, what you said, the existential crisis. It is going to be a generation of young people with no jobs if we're not careful, with nowhere to go. It's frightening.
And Willie, we can't say we haven't been warned. It's one of the things that Jim Vandehey's done so well in Axios. They're talking about this, but I'm surprised more people aren't talking about the coming wave of layoffs.
Yeah, and we get the executives you're talking about who run these tech companies show up, once a year, once every couple of years. They take their hits on Capitol Hill. They run circles around some of the members who, as you say, don't really understand the issue. They go back to business and, by the way, now get massive tax cuts and subsidies to continue doing what they're doing, effectively unregulated. Jim, one interesting byproduct of all this, though, is a rethinking of what a good education is, of what good career training is. There was a report put out that these very AI companies are going to need 130,000 electricians in the next couple of years, for example. So people thinking differently about what education means. How am I educating myself? How am I preparing myself for the future?
Yeah, and this is why leadership matters. It doesn't actually have to be this way. So I've done a bunch of phone calls over the last 2 weeks with Chamber of Commerce in some of the biggest cities, so from Phoenix to Des Moines to Pittsburgh. And a common theme in a lot of these cities is that they actually have jobs that have been open for a while and they can't fill them because they don't have people who live there who have those skills. So one of the things Congress could be doing is build some kind of database, make it very clear about what type of jobs are open, where are they, what type of education do you need? If you don't have that education, how could you get the skill training to do it? I bet you the AI companies would be glad to help even fund that because a lot of those jobs are either AI specific or they're dependent or adjacent companies like energy companies, chip companies, or data companies. And so what Joe was saying about the lack of understanding among a lot of members of Congress about AI, in some ways it is criminal because it is one of the biggest topics of our generation. And there are things that lawmakers could do, and they don't necessarily have to cost people. And I think people are being misled by the fact that the stock market is booming. Unless you are directly invested in the stock market or you have a robust 401k, you're not benefiting from a big stock market. So yes, people who are in the stock market, I'm benefiting from it. But if you don't have enough money or you don't have a 401k, who cares what's happening to the S&P 500? It's making rich people richer. It's not helping the people who are about to have their health care premiums go up or might need that SNAP payment that's about to expire. Like that is the role that Congress could play in this, but they just keep doing weird things when you could be looking at the most substantive thing unfolding in real time. Joe, you're right. You know ahead of time it's coming. Yeah. They're telling you. Yeah.
Right. Again, there are two Americas right now, and you have a GDP that is fueled a lot by what you're saying, the top 1%, and even the stock market, Mika. You got the Mag 7, the Magnificent Seven, fueling so much of the stock market's growth. You take out those 7 companies, most of them monopolies, the stock market's not close to where it is right now.
No, and again, it comes down.
In 2024, the 4 largest tech companies in the United States leading advances in AI earned nearly $268 billion.
Both Amazon and Microsoft exceeding analyst estimates on both the top line and the bottom line.
But these profits have come at the cost of the dismissal of hundreds of thousands of workers who generally belong to the so-called middle class.
Despite reporting better than expected quarterly results, tech giant Microsoft announced it will be laying off roughly 6,000 employees.
Although advances in artificial intelligence promise gains in productivity, efficiency, and cost reduction, people who lose their jobs also lose the opportunity to move up the socioeconomic ladder.
Big tech companies like Meta, Google, and Amazon have been laying off a staggering amount of workers, tens of thousands of people.
The problem is that with the elimination of these jobs, the gap between the rich and the poor is growing increasingly wider.
The digital revolution creates enormous wealth for those with the skills and preparation to take advantage, but it eliminates what economists call middle skill jobs.
Whereas in the past, workers had bargaining power due to their essential role in production, today that power is diminished in the face of machines that operate without salaries, demands, or interruptions. So, how artificial intelligence is replacing middle-class careers? The rise of artificial intelligence has ushered in a new technological era that promises significant productivity gains, cost reductions, and transformative efficiencies across all sectors. However, behind these promises lies a growing economic concern. AI is accelerating a structural shift in the U.S. labor market that threatens the stability and very existence of the middle class. Historically, the middle class has been the backbone of the U.S. economy. sustained by a broad base of white-collar jobs in sectors such as finance, education, and law. The automation of traditional tasks performed by mid-skilled professionals is severely affecting the American middle class.
Computer software and industrial machines now fill roles from clerical tasks to routine manufacturing that once produced middle-class incomes for workers without college degrees.
At the same time, wealth is increasingly concentrated in a small elite that owns AI companies. Although much of the public attention has focused on how automation threatens blue-collar manufacturing jobs, a quieter revolution is unfolding in white-collar sectors. In fields that were traditionally considered immune to automation, such as law, journalism, and finance, AI is already displacing workers. For example, AI tools are being used by law firms to draft legal documents, by newsrooms to generate content, and by corporations to replace customer service agents. A 2024 McKinsey report estimated that between 15 and 30% of working hours in white-collar jobs could be automated by 2030. But what is most concerning is the impact on careers that have traditionally defined the American middle class.
Artificial intelligence is advancing at breakneck speed, and the CEO of an AI firm just warned businesses and politicians that they shouldn't sugarcoat the impact that this is going to have on the workforce.
Being a teacher, accountant, copywriter, or financial analyst used to be seen as a stable path to a life of decent income, benefits, and social mobility. Today, many of those occupations are under threat from AI systems that perform tasks faster, at lower cost, and often with fewer errors. Accounting, for instance, is being transformed by platforms that use AI to process and audit financial data, reducing the need for human accounting staff. In journalism, media companies like the Associated Press have adopted automatic article generation for financial and sports coverage. In education, platforms like Khan Academy and AI-powered tutoring services are beginning to replace part of the teacher's role, especially in individualized tutoring. Even in programming, tools like GitHub Copilot are drastically reducing the need for junior developers by automatically generating blocks of code. Moreover, these tools are replacing traditional occupations at an unprecedented speed. What was once a clearly defined career path, progressing from roles like accounting assistant to senior accountant or from junior reporter to editor, is now disappearing. AI not only automates specific tasks, but also redraws the full scope of certain jobs.
Let's talk about how AI is transforming the legal industry. Many of these tools are so powerful that big law firms are actually restructuring their workflows just to integrate them.
In the legal industry, assistants and paralegals are being replaced by platforms that not only draft contracts, but also perform case law analysis. In finance, analysts are being replaced by algorithms capable of scanning and evaluating market trends in real time. In design, new generative tools allow anyone to create professional quality images without prior training, drastically reducing demand for skilled graphic designers. This replacement of entire job functions is causing traditional middle-class careers to lose their structural value. It is no longer about learning a discipline and practicing it for decades, but about constantly adapting to a market in which technical knowledge can become obsolete within months. As a result, the stability offered by these professions, predictable income, health insurance, the ability to buy a house and educate one's children, is crumbling.
Artificial intelligence is set to reshape our workplaces.
What does this mean for my job? Am I going to have a job? Will my children have jobs?
Companies are itching to incorporate AI into their systems. But are we really ready for it?
These transformations not only eliminate existing jobs, but also alter career trajectories. The middle class can no longer count on joining a company, starting from the bottom and climbing through experience and effort. Entry-level roles, fundamental for building skills, are disappearing. And when those lower rungs are erased, professional advancement becomes nearly impossible. Corporate behavior suggests that staff cuts have already begun. In 2023 alone, the tech industry laid off more than 260,000 workers, with many companies citing AI efficiencies as the main reason. In February 2025, Meta announced the elimination of approximately 3,600 jobs, representing around 5% of its global workforce. Likewise, financial giants like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs have implemented AI to automate much of the client-facing work, reducing the need for junior analysts and associates, positions that historically offered access to the middle class.
Artificial intelligence and the impact it's having on our day-to-day lives, and that now includes the world of finance.
Yes, Morgan Stanley is expanding the use of OpenAI-powered tools in its investment banking and trading division.
As traditional middle-class jobs disappear, wealth becomes concentrated in the hands of those who control AI technologies. The major tech companies are in a privileged position to capitalize on this revolution, accumulating market value thanks to the ownership of platforms, algorithms, patents, and vast amounts of data. In contrast, most workers face a future of unstable, poorly paid jobs without benefits. An analysis by the Economic Policy Institute revealed that between 1979 and 2022, labor productivity in the United States grew by 64.6%, while hourly compensation for the average worker rose by only 17.3%. This disconnect has been exacerbated by AI, which enables companies to extract more value with fewer workers. The result is a system in which capital, not labor, receives most of the benefits of economic growth.
In countries with advanced economies, inequality of income and wealth has surged. And nowhere has it surged more than in the U.S., where reliance on free market forces has been strongest.
Wealth inequality has reached historic levels. According to data from the Federal Reserve, the richest 10% of the population owns 70% of all wealth in the United States. Meanwhile, the middle class, which includes households with incomes between 2/3 and twice the national average, held 62% of the country's wealth in 1980, but in 2023 retains only 43%. This growing disparity has not only economic, but also social and political implications. A weakened middle class has less capacity to actively participate in democracy, invest in education, form stable families, or sustain local communities. The widening gap between rich and poor threatens to destabilize the social contract that has been fundamental.
We're entering a period of exponential change in the world, a new industrial revolution driven by technological advances. And our workplaces are already deeply impacted. Our human teams are being joined by agents, artificial intelligence that learns on the job and can perform multiple tasks and processes. Agentic AI may revolutionize the way we work and manage teams on a scale we haven't seen in 100 years or more. What might that mean for humans, for our jobs, and for the future of work?
They can take on increasingly complex tasks. I can give it a bunch of information, documentation from my work, so it knows me, my work, and then I can ask it to take that content and write me a paper.
I'm Isabel Berwick. I lead the FT's Working It brand, speaking, presenting, and writing about management, leadership, and workplaces. In this series, I'll explore some of the most pressing issues around the future of work and talk to senior leaders about how they are making work better. So, what is agentic AI? Very simply, I think of agentic AI like a wind-up toy. You set it up with access to multiple platforms and processes, give it a task, and off it runs, and carries on until the task is completed. Agents are capable of acting autonomously, making their own decisions, without much human supervision.
There's agentic AI, as the tech sector would like to explain it, and that is the idea of a completely autonomous technology in which AI takes control of something, doesn't need any kind of human interaction, and just goes ahead and gets the job done. Whatever it is you need doing, buying stock, talking to customers, interacting with internal employees, it's all done for you. The idea is it will just, you give it sort of a very broad remit and it will go and do everything at the same time.
In workplaces, agents can already approve expenses, onboard workers and clients, and collaborate on project ideas. They might also work in customer experience and client management. Top tech firms have all launched tools intended to complete complex tasks with little or no human instruction. OpenAI just unveiled ChatGPT Agent in July. The technology is supposed to analyze and summarize information from your calendar and beyond, as well as devise plans based on what it finds, from breakfasts to briefings. agents are embedding throughout organizations, from the recruitment stage through to management. Sounds scary? Top executives are already on board. I spoke to Colette Stahlbaumer, co-founder of the Microsoft Work Lab and general manager of Microsoft 365 Copilot. She leads the team behind the Microsoft Work Trend Index. When we met at the FT's Women in Business Summit in London this summer, I asked Colette to share her advice on what steps leaders should take with AI now, especially those leaders who haven't really got started yet.
Really, leaders seem to be ahead of employees. Last year when we looked at the data, employees were actually experimenting with AI in their work, and leaders were actually kind of catching up. Now we see in the data that that has flipped. But still only 1% of companies say that they've completely implemented their AI strategy. So we're still in the early innings of this. The thing that's important to know now is if you haven't started yet, you're already behind.
Shall I go again? So, how quickly will global workforces adopt agentic AI? Research company Gartner says that agentic AI use will skyrocket in the coming years. Gartner asked more than 3,000 business leaders how they will move forward with agentic AI, and nearly half say they are planning a conservative investment. There's also some suggestion that a lot of the AI hype is just that, hype.
I asked my colleague Melissa Hakeler, the FT's AI correspondent, to share her insights into what's happening right now.
A lot of it is hype, for sure. A lot of it is hype. People are really keen to see this being rolled out in the real world and also see a return for investment. Companies and investors have poured billions, if not trillions of dollars into this technology. And now the big question is, what is the killer app? What is this technology actually useful for? And we don't really know that yet. Companies everywhere have this almost FOMO or fear of missing out, that if they don't adopt and use this technology, they'll fall behind their competitors.
Optimists say that using the technology will help reduce workplace drudgery, leaving more time for employee creativity. I spoke to Zig Serafin, CEO of Qualtrics, a US-based experience management company. I asked him what the future will look like if and when our teams at work include both humans and agents.
What that means is that the nature of work that can be agentic or that can become agentified or better automated or be able to take the rudimentary, basic, repetitive, highly predictive, rules-based tasks and have AI do that work and then be able to allow people to spend time on things that are more human starts to change. More human means focusing on creativity, focusing on areas that require complex judgment, areas that require strategic thinking, areas that might require much more of craftsmanship and being able to require much more of a human approach to something. All of these forms are more human, and so if people can spend more time on things like that, that usually improves the organization's ability to be able to create things that are more human, be able to create more human connections, while more of the repetitive things become more automated as a result of that. So if you step back and you look at an organization, even though things won't change overnight, organizations will become less rigid.
Is AI coming for the traditional org chart, the organogram? We all know them. They're the hierarchy of work. It shows us where we sit in the office structure. But experts say that agents that can perform autonomous tasks could soon replace humans in part of the org chart. And if that happens, it's going to have profound effects and knock-on consequences for the future of work.
To go deeper, I spoke to renowned trust expert Rachel Botsman. I visited Rachel at the London Design Biennale, where her installation, Roots of Trust, reimagines the first known company organisational chart, what we now call the org chart, dating from 1855. With agentic AI set to disrupt the traditional company org chart, mixing human workers with AI-based colleagues, Rachel shared her thoughts on how humans will react to this extraordinary shift.
So are humans hardwired, do you think, to resist change? Or with the agents and AI coming in, is that a human thing to kind of be wary and, to use one of your words, mistrusting?
Not necessarily
mistrusting, but human beings are wired to resist change. So I talk about a concept called a trust leap. And so a trust leap is whenever you're asking someone to take a risk, to do something new or to do something differently. And we resist trust leaps because we like the known and the safe and the familiar. And whenever you're asking someone to trust a new system, a new product, a new innovation, a new leader, you're asking them in some way to move into the unknown.
As workers worldwide grapple with trust and the rapid implementation of AI agents, we have concerns ranging from job losses and jobs becoming obsolete to privacy violation, because those agents scrape a lot of data, often from multiple platforms and sources. The skeptic in me wonders about the long-term consequences of this headlong rush to implement agents in our workplaces.
However intelligent it is, it's still a something. And my fear is not a lack of trust, it's actually misplaced trust. And it's how honest we are about the intentions and the motives of that something, and how that person who's using it realizes it's not a real human being. Because this is the first time in history that the distinction between human trust and technological trust is not even blurred, that we don't know where that line begins and ends.
So agentic AI, this is something called agentic washing, which is the idea that tech companies are telling people, they're telling companies right now that agentic AI is a thing, that it works, that you can sell it. It's more expensive than just getting access to a normal ChatGPT chatbot because it can do more. And we're in a peculiar point in time where AI companies are spending massive amounts of money on research and development, and they're getting in quite a lot of money, but not as much as they're spending. Agentic AI is a way to balance that out. The problem is that truly agentic AI, totally autonomous AI, does not yet exist. And that's for two reasons. One is because it's very difficult to give it a remit and let it go ahead and do everything. But the second one is that it gets things wrong all the time.
So how are companies avoiding agentic washing? How can they make sure it works?
I find it very, very important to not only use it internally, but we also partner with customers around the world who like to kick the tires first, but ultimately help us to be able to finesse the use of the AI in a way that makes a great difference. So that by the time we end up launching the capability in the market, usually we'll have 50, sometimes 100 customers that are already using the system at scale, so that it's been tuned and polished such that many other customers can take advantage of it.
It's not a finished product yet. It's not something that can just run without anybody watching over it. This is still something that we're testing out and that fails in interesting ways, but still fails. We are definitely the guinea pigs, and I think a lot of it has to do with the cost of R&D in AI, and that might not be something that the companies themselves want to talk about, but that's the reality for AI at the moment. The amount of money that they're spending to pursue superintelligence, to pursue AGI, is vast, billions and billions of dollars. The amount that they're getting in is nowhere near covering that. So they're still working out their revenue models right now. Agentic AI, the sales of agentic AI are part of that experiment. We are part of that experiment.
There's a lot of buzz at the moment about huge numbers of jobs being lost to AI. Is this what the future of work looks like?
Some in the tech world are really excited. You know, they're saying in a few years we might get the world's first one-person unicorn. Unclear if that'll happen. If you want the real genius or really, really good quality, you still need a human. Language models work by generating the next likely word in a sentence. So often you get, you know, the most statistically average result. And you still need humans for real ingenuity or creativity or something that goes beyond the average. So I don't think humans will ever be replaced.
Right now, levels of optimism and investment from tech leaders seem to be far outstripping the reality of what agents are doing in workplaces. But things move so quickly at the moment. Leaders have to be ready for the agentic revolution, however it unfolds and wherever it takes us.
Jamie, we were talking about the fact that you have lent into technology over the last decade, billions of dollars invested across the business. When it comes to AI, which parts of the JP Morgan business are going to be most transformed by AI?
Yeah, so we've been doing AI since 2012. So people think it's like a new thing. Gen AI is kind of new, but not all of AI. We have 2,000 people doing it, spend $2 billion a year on it. It affects everything: risk, fraud, marketing, idea generation, customer service, and it's kind of the tip of the iceberg. And so, we're deploying it. Every time we meet as a business, we ask, what are you doing in AI? What are you doing to serve your people? Why can you do better? What is somebody else doing? So we're freely deploying it, and safely. We have a lot of rules and regulations in place about our own data and how we use it, et cetera.
Is it having a material impact on revenues for JP Morgan? If not now, then when?
So we have shown that for $2 billion of expense, we have about $2 billion of benefit. Some we actually can do real detail. We did this, we reduced headcount, we saved this time and money, we reduced errors. Some you can't. It's just improved service, something like that. It's like almost worthless to say what's the NPV, but we know about $2 billion of actual cost saves. And like I said, I think it's the tip of the iceberg. We're getting better and better at it. We know how to do it. As the managers learn how to do it, they're asking more questions. Why can't it do X and why can't it do Y? And then I don't have my phone here, but we have a suite, an LLM suite on internal data to do research and summarize reports and scan contracts and do things like that. 150,000 people a week use it. So it's quite productive.
More and more of your employees are using the agentic AI across
our own LLM, and agentic is just starting. But that will be deployed over time too. But it's also being used for coding. I mean, it's being used quite broadly now, and like I said, part of it is getting your mind working around how you're going to use this thing, and so our managers and leaders have to do it.
If you look out 5 years, are there more jobs in banking as a result of AI or fewer?
I think people shouldn't put their head in the sand. It is going to affect jobs. So think of every application, every service you do, you'll be using AI. Some to enhance it. Some of it'll be you doing the same job. You're doing a better job at it. There will be jobs that it eliminates. But you're better off being way ahead of the curve and retraining people. So we retrain and redeploy a lot of people. So for JP Morgan, if we're successful, we'll have more jobs. But there'll probably be less jobs in certain functions.
When you look at the spend on AI, infrastructure, chips, OpenAI, it's not making a profit. Loss-making, deals of about $1 trillion this year. The hyperscalers, the spend there. What is your reaction when you see those numbers crossing? Are you comfortable with that kind of spend on the infrastructure around AI?
It's a lot. I'm not sure it's all ever going to be totally spent. I think when you look at big tech, like tech that happens like this, and you go look at cars, you could look at television, you could look at internet, big money's got spent. There were a lot of losers, a lot of winners. In total, it was productive. So even take the internet bubble. Remember that blew up, and the amount of people. You and I could probably name 100 companies that were worth $50 billion and disappeared. But out of it came Facebook, YouTube, Google. So there will be real big companies, real big success. It will work in spite of the fact that not everyone who invests in it is going to have a great investment return.
And of course, those investments are part of what has powered this bull market in stocks. And on Sunday, it'll be 3 years of that bull market. Where do you think we are in that bull market? Is there any complacency there? Is it underpinned by rational factors? Is there more momentum?
Yeah, look, we're in a bull market. It's been clear. Asset prices are high, credit spreads are low, consumer's still okay, the consumer has jobs. Remember, jobs is what usually starts to force people to cut back and change things, and consumers spend less and companies cut back. So far, so good. There are a lot of issues out there that the economy's got to deal with, from all the geopolitical stuff. Maybe they'll sort out well. What's going to happen to inflation? I'm a little more nervous about inflation not coming down like people expect. That might be a surprise. On the other hand, there's a lot of spending. There's a lot of government spending, which is inflationary too, by the way. And so, I don't know. I hope for the best, plan for the worst.
And you're not worried about a recession in 2026 for the US? You made that clear.
I think it could happen in 2026. I'm not worried about it as a different statement. We'll deal with it. We'll serve our clients. We'll navigate through it. A lot of us have been through them before. You don't wish it because certain people get hurt, but it could happen in 2026.
We're still, of course, in the U.S. government shutdown.
But I do think there are positives. Like deregulation is a real positive, which also helps animal spirits as a positive. And in the one big beautiful bill, there's also more stimulus that has positives for the economy, but maybe negatives for inflation. So how it all sorts out, we'll see.
markets are looking through the US government shutdown. Is there a period of time, if this shutdown continues, where markets start to wake up and become concerned?
I don't think so. Look, I don't like shutdowns. I think it's just a bad idea, and I don't care what the Democrats, Republicans say. It's a bad idea. It's not a way to run a railroad. I don't think it's critical. We've had, I forgot the number, 4 or 5 or 6. One went for 35 days. I'm not sure anyone really affected the economy and the market in a real way.
You mentioned inflation. You said you're a little bit more concerned about inflation than maybe some others. Markets pricing in about 100 basis points of cuts between now and this time next year from the Fed. Does that therefore seem reasonable to you, or markets are over their skis in pricing?
I think markets have to make a forecast. I want to point out that forecasts have almost always been wrong, and the Fed's been wrong too. So it isn't like their forecast is going to be accurate. If inflation goes up, starts ticking up for whatever reason, and it might, it's going to be hard to do 100 points. They might do some, and then they have the battle, the give and take of if unemployment starts going up. Well, obviously they're going to do some. So we'll see.
You've long talked about geopolitics as being a risk factor. We're seeing gold at $4,000. We're seeing Bitcoin at record highs. The dollar, though, year to date, down about 8% on the Bloomberg Dollar Index. Are you seeing structural shifts out of the US dollar, and is that a sustained theme?
A little bit, but again, I wouldn't have heartburn over it. The dollar did well for a long time. If you own U.S. stocks, so foreigners own something like $35 trillion of U.S. stocks and bonds, and because the stock market's gone up, your allocation to the U.S. has gone up. I think it's perfectly reasonable for investment committees in Europe and around the world to cut back a little bit of their equity ownership. We've also seen people changing their hedge ratios and stuff like that, so it may just be a rational adjustment to, I don't expect a stronger dollar, the tariffs has this effect, but it's still, if you look at America, it's still the greatest place in the world to invest long term.
And deal making seems to be picking up. And of course, JP Morgan played a significant role in the takeover, the take private of EA, $20 billion in financing provided by JP Morgan. Is that a marker in the sand? Is that a one-off as a deal of that type, or is it a sign of more competition between, frankly, the banks and private credit?
Well, look, we're agnostic about private credit, so there may be competition or not. We want our customers to do what's in their interest.
First of all, this event where you are, I mean, right now I just see a curtain, but I'm assuming there's lots of stuff happening at the event. Who's there? What's going on? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yep. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And I enjoyed our conversation as well. It's just great to be here. We are at our fourth Delivering the Future event here. And there's a bunch of press that we have here. And we made a couple of big announcements in robotics today.
Can you tell us about them?
The first is in our manipulation robot that we call Blue Jay. And what Blue Jay, the way that you can think of that is that you can take 3 assembly lines and put it in the same footprint of 1. What it does is help eliminate the menial, the mundane, and the repetitive. And it could pick more than 75% of the inventory that we actually sell in our sortable network, which is a really big deal. I'm really proud of that. And I'll also say there's just something interesting about Blue Jay as well, as compared to our other bird manipulation systems, Cardinal, Sparrow, and Robin. It took us about 3 years to kind of design, deploy, and get out to our frontline employees. We have actually done Blue Jay with the power of AI in just over a year. So it's really had accelerated the pace of innovation.
I think when a lot of people think about Amazon and robots, I just want to jump in because we don't have a ton of time, but we'll get to some of the other announcements. They think about the Kiva Systems robots, the big acquisition at the time, 2012. That was a big acquisition for Amazon, and they've seen pictures of the way that those can move large loads of things across warehouses. But if you were to go into a state-of-the-art Amazon warehouse today, what would you see that's in addition to those Kiva robots?
Yeah, in addition to the world's first goods-to-person fulfillment strategy, which was just a really good idea, where we have more than 1 million robots that we manufacture actually in Massachusetts doing that job every day, you're going to see more of the unstructured fields, right? So you're going to see green robot that we call Proteus that can move big cargoes of packages to the right dock at the right time. You're going to see many more manipulation systems that we have in there, eliminating kind of the repetitive motions that we have. No one wants to lift a 50-pound box all day. Robin does that. Cardinal does that, moving it into some of these Proteus-bound carts that we have, you're going to see much more collaborative robotics, right? So that's where we build our robotic systems to enable people, to augment what people are capable of. And we really believe in the philosophy of people and machines working together. How can we build the tool set that enables our employees to do their job not only more efficiently, but also with better safety in mind?
All right, so there's this robot arm called BlueJay. You just talked about it. You know, you guys are using this AI agent called Illuna. And then you're also working with augmented reality glasses to be worn by drivers in delivery trucks in the field. There's like so much going on. Step back for a moment, because you guys have a lot of data. You look at what you're doing. I'm just curious, investors who are thinking about Amazon and what you are doing, how do they think about the long-term like ROI, return on investment, when it comes to the investment you guys make in robots? Is the goal about labor efficiency, throughput speed, or is it margin expansion, kind of tie across your fulfillment operations? What is it?
Yeah, well, definitely efficiency. We think about efficiencies and how can we gain efficiency through all the chain of our fulfillment processes, for sure. And you mentioned data, and data is the fuel for AI systems. Data has allowed us to bring, think of the body of being our robotics, but bring the mind to robotics, allowing it to be more adaptable, more fluid. You can almost think of this as the ability to pour our robotic systems into any size building, any scale of building, to amplify what our employees are already doing. We want to give them an amazing tool set. And we see that when we do that, we're more productive, right? When you do robotics right, when you do collaborative robotics where you need both people and machines doing what they do best, and they do different things better, that it allows you to be more productive. And when you're more productive, that allows you to invest more in people. We've upskilled more than 700,000 of our employees, which is a great stat. And also in our robotics, we've expanded from the Kiva days, we've expanded from just a movement solution to now movement and mobility and sortation and storage and perception systems, packing systems that have really changed the game for our customers. That's a big deal to us.
But Ty, you know, will you need less workers? And I got to bring it up. You know, the Times had a story out. They talked about interviews and a cache of internal strategy documents that they saw, that it reveals that your execs think that the company's on the cusp of its next big workplace shift. I'm reading from the Times, and replacing more than 500,000 jobs with robots. So, you know, we know things change. I'm not in a horse and buggy anymore. I don't make things piecemeal. I get it. I don't get tons of faxes, and I don't get tons of pieces of physical mail. Thank God. Things change. Having said that, is Amazon, do you guys believe that you're on the cusp of a workplace shift and that you won't need as many workers because the advancements in robotics?
Well, there's no doubt that things change. I mean, and we're actually really proud of that at Amazon, is that we avoid stasis at all costs. We change and we adapt, and the nature of tasks definitely changes. And there's no doubt about that. We are laser focused on efficiencies inside of our buildings. But when it comes to that article was speculating 10 years out. Right, that's a 10-year speculation, and it's hard to say what's going to happen in the next 10 years. But I can tell you what happened in the last 10 years. The last 10 years, which is when we seriously invested in robotics, that we created hundreds of thousands of new jobs and new job types. And there's been no employer in the United States that has employed more people than Amazon. In 10 years. I mean, that's the power of efficiencies and building your robots in a way that's applied and real, that actually augments the human potential.
All right, my brother say I'm like a dog with a bone. So wait, so does that mean 10 years out, it could be less jobs, or we just don't know, or you don't think that's the case?
Well, you have to think about, I mean, there's jobs and there's tasks, right? So of course, we're changing the nature of tasks. Like, I'm very bullish on eliminating every menial, mundane, and repetitive job out there. Nobody wants to do that. So we're going to change those tasks 100%. But we can, again, as history has shown, we continue to create jobs, right? With the goal of two things. Can you have it